moment, and we are pretty much good to go. Are we live? We are just checking. Hey everybody, how's it going? Thank you so much for joining in live. And if you're watching me, just let me know. So I'm looking at the chat right now. So any questions you might have, I would love to answer. So I'm just here for you. Any questions you have, I would love to answer. All right. So what I'm going to do pretty quick is that I'm going to go to my social media and let's just tell all the Patreons that we are here and we are going live. So I'm just going to go to Patreon right now and share it that we are live right now. So meanwhile, if you have any questions, just let me know. I'm here for you. I'm going to answer any questions that you might have. I can see the chat on my right hand side. Everything is going great. Just let me know when you are here. All right. So I'm just going to go to my messages and let me just check whether the link and everything is working or not. As I can see, there are just two people. There might be a confusion, but I'm checking whether the link is working or not. All right. So let me just message everybody that we are live. And hey, let me know if you're here. Just comment in here, and the lesser the people, the better, because the more the chances are that I'm going to help you really well with your questions. So I'm here on Patreon right now, and I will try to just message everybody that we are live. All right, so let me just share it, right? Let me share it. We are live now at, all right, so I'm gonna share it right now. Let me see if this is working. All right. So this has been shared and we are hoping for more and more people to just join in. And as soon as you join in, just let me know in the comments, as I can see there are no comments as of now. And I also have my Photoshop screen ready for you. So if you have any questions, we have just that open. All right, so let me show that to you. So this is my Photoshop screen and this is one of the tutorials that we did previously. All right, so I'm still waiting, and if you have any questions, just let me know. And then what I will do is I'll just redo it. If you don't have any questions, I'll just redo the same thing again. So I'm just still checking whether this thing is going right or not. It seems to be pretty all right. 5 people are watching right now. And if you're watching, just go ahead and ask the question. Okay. So I just shared it. I just hope that message went properly. All right, so it seems to have gone to everybody. I'm hoping more and more people join, and we'll just wait and we'll just show a Photoshop screen at the moment. Okay, so Detroit Buckeye has joined in. Hey Detroit, thank you for joining in. If you're seems like you're the only one here. If you have any Photoshop questions, let me know, because you're the only one and I would love to answer it. All right, yes, I am seeing this. I am seeing your questions. Okay, so let me just do something else. Let me just move to my face. Okay, there we go. Susan, hey Susan. Hi from Atlanta, Georgia. Hi Susan. Hi from Mumbai. Thank you for joining in today, guys. I'm just here for you guys. If you have any questions, anything you want to know, anything you want to ask, just please let me know, because I'm here for about 30-40 minutes just for you. Andreas joined in. Hi from Germany. Thank you so much, Andreas. Hi to you too. All right, so we're just gonna move to Photoshop and let's see what we have today. And if you watched this tutorial, you would know exactly what it is. But if you have any questions, let me know. And this is just here to do something if you don't ask anything. All right, so in this particular tutorial, we were talking about reflections. And the way the reflection works is that one of the ways in which you can get your composites to look realistic is to actually observe real photos. If you look at the real photos, you would notice that the reflections are a little darker than the original sky. And also at the same time, there is a blur from top to bottom. There is a horizontal blur. So horizontal blur plus a little bit darker if it's still water. If it's moving water, there's another way that uses 3D to create reflections. So check that tutorial out if you're interested into that. All right. James said, I'm here, but just watching. Well, this is a Q&A. Thank you, James, for joining in. But it would be much better if you can ask a question. I'm here to help you. Okay, so everybody's here. No questions asked as of now. So I'm just going to start with some tips and tricks that I have in my hand. So let's just start with something. Let me just start a new document in here. And we'll just open a random document and see what we can do from it. All right. So now, here, I wanted to show you something. This is important. I don't know what to show it to you. A couple of blend mode tricks. You're interested? Well, there's a good desaturated look that you can create with blend modes. It's really interesting. Let me just show that to you. All right. So this is the screen. So let me just open a stock photo. So I'm just gonna file, open, and here's a stock photo that we can actually use. I'm gonna find a darker one. Let me find something interesting. There are so many actually in here. Let's take this. All right, so I'm opening this stock photo and hoping that it opens. Now, to create a desaturated look, it's pretty simple. If you want to create a contrasty desaturated look, you can do this. So you can simply create a black and white adjustment layer. All right. And then it's interesting that you simply change the blend mode of this. This is as simple as that, to soft light. You see, here's the before, here's the after, here's the movie desaturated look that you kind of get. Now, this is kind of too much. You would obviously decrease it. Now, the great part is you can actually customize it any which way you want. You can just open it up. See how you're getting to customize the red? It's absolutely amazing. If you want more details, you can customize it. If you want maybe more or less yellows, you can also customize it. So you can customize the greens. It's absolutely customizable. And it creates a great effect. So this is something which you can try to create a more grungy feel in your photos. So I see I have a question from Detroit here. He says, okay, here's my question. I'm trying to blend in something like a Night King face, Game of Thrones, onto a person's face and make it look authentic. That's a great question. And that can easily be done. I have a head swap tutorial, a 30-minute tutorial that you can watch, and that's going to help you. But let me give you a great tip. I actually was creating this tutorial for KLB1 actually. So, but I can show it to you right now. Not for KLB1, but for their guest post. I don't have it in my hand at the moment, but there's a way in which you can easily match the colors just by using 3 points. All you need is highlights, midtones, and shadows, right? So if I had a face, let me just open a face for you. If I can find it, maybe it's in my libraries. So I'm just going to go to I'm not going to exactly make a great selection, but I'm going to show you what I mean by that. So I'll just try to open up something. It's from Photoshop World. I'm going to teach there. So it's part of my class. So let me just open that for you if I can find it. Okay. Yes, there you go. So here I have a subject. Have a look. Have a subject on a different background. So this is a background. I blurred it a little bit. And on that, I have placed the subject. Now, the task is to match the subject with that of the background. And that is the same thing that you will use. The same theory that you will use here. So Detroit has also sent a link, but this tip is going to help you. Okay, so here's the thing. Here's what you do. If you want to match anything to any background, all you need is the sample of 3 colors: highlights, midtones, and shadows. And the way we do that is pretty simple. We create a curves adjustment layer. Click on the adjustment layer icon and then choose curves. Right now what we need to do, we need to limit the curves just to the subject. If you take it up or down, it's going to affect the entire thing. We don't want that. We only want the subject to be affected. And to be able to do that, click on this button. It creates a clipping mask. So, or you can also hold the Alt key or the Option key, or click on the line between these two. It also creates a clipping mask. Now whatever you do will be limited just to the subject. Now the easiest and the fastest way to create a great starting point is this. Have a look at the eyedropper with the white end. It stands for the white point. So all we need to do is double click on that one. Now, before you start creating samples for those, always make sure that this symbol is selected, not the mask. Double click on that one. The color picker is going to show up. Now what you do, you make sure that the current and below is selected, and you pick the highest or the brightest color of the background. So this is, in my opinion, the brightest color. I'm going to choose my sampled 3x3 average. So this is the brightest one. So I'm just going to pick in right there. But it's picking some random color. I don't know why. All right, there we go. We're going to pick this color. The brightest one right there. Hit OK. Save the new target as defaults. No, we don't want to do that. Now what we want to do, we want to click on the brightest part of the subject. So click on that. So it, as simple as that, it matches the highlight of the subject with that of the background. Now it might need some adjustment. Maybe you want to make it a little brighter. That's it. Now it's time for us to match the shadows. Double click on the dark one, the one with the black point. Double click on that one and click on the darkest area of the shadows. But right now it's making a selection of this area, so you might need to kind of turn it off sometimes. So double click on that. Double click on the darkest area and take the darkest point of the shadows. So hit OK, OK, and now let's turn it on and click on the darkest part of the subject. So what is the darkest part of the subject? So this is the darkest part. So you click on it, so it matches the shadows and both the highlights of the subject with that of the background. Have a look, here's the before, here's the after. You can also go ahead and do the same thing for the midtones. And now this gives you a great starting point. You can go from here. Maybe I need to just nudge the reds a little bit. I'll just decrease the reds a touch. And there you go. It just matched. If you want to just increase or decrease the brightness, you can do that as well. But I think it's perfect. If you look at it, here's the before, here's the after. That's how easy it is. Now, it might not always give you the perfect results, but it gives you a great starting point. Okay, so we have a couple of questions here. We're just gonna take them one by one. Katie Leong says, hello, hi Katie, thank you for joining in today. Betty says, I'm sitting in Premiere Lounge before flight. I had sent you a message earlier asking for tips on how to know when the color and the light is right, especially when doing composites. Okay, so I'm going to read your question again. I didn't understand that quite well. Tips on how to know when the color and the light is right, especially when doing composites. Well, there's a great way to figure this out. When you're matching composites, right now I have a composite open and I can show that to you. So when you're matching composite, you can use something called check layers to make sure that your color is on point, your light is on point, and also a lot of people don't consider this, but also always make sure that the depth of field should be on point. So sometimes what happens is I see people compositing and they have the subject taken with a very fast lens with a shallow depth of field. So with the hairs in the background, hairs at the back completely blurred out and the nose blurred out, eye sharp, very nice shallow depth of field portrait, and they composite it on a sharp background. That absolutely looks fake. You need to blur the background as well. So if the subject was taken with a shallow depth of field, you need to blur the background as well. Just keep in mind that. Anyway, so to make sure that your brightness is on point, you can create this check layer. You can click on the adjustment layer icon and then choose color, solid color. and choose any color which has no color, like white, gray, or black. Choose anything like that and hit OK. And change the blend mode from normal to color. That way all the color is now removed. Now you can control the brightness with that of the curves. Zoom out a ton, and now you control the brightness to match with that of the background. Now you don't have any color distractions. Now keep in mind that you might be thinking, Unmesh, why are you doing this? Why are you creating a solid color adjustment layer and then changing the blend mode to color? Why do such complicated things? Why not just simply create an adjustment layer and change it to black and white? Why not do that? Or a black and white adjustment layer, why not do that? Well, this is more scientific, perceptual way to do this. Let me show you an example. It will make sense. All right, so if I create a new document, and let me just create a simple new document, and if I had a gradient, like a simple gradient from red to yellow, so I'm going to take red, all right, and on the other side I'm going to take yellow. So let's take bright yellow, something like this. And all right, so this is something. Now, to the human eyes, what will human eyes think? Human eyes will think that yellow is brighter than the red. Well, technically speaking, it is the same brightness. If you look at both the colors, the red we chose has brightness level of 100 and the yellow we chose has a brightness level of 100, right? So technically, if you look by the numbers, both of them have the same brightness. But if you look at logically, but if you look at with the human eyes, to human eyes, it seems that the yellow is brighter than that of the red. So now when you create a hue saturation adjustment layer, a simple hue saturation, and take the saturation down, it will see no difference. That is the issue with simply turning it black and white. It just will not work. It will not allow you to see the differences that the human eye will see, the way that human eye will perceive it. So the way to go is create a solid color adjustment layer, choose any color, gray, white, or anything like that, and change the blend mode to color. That way, have a look at it. It looks just like human eyes. Yellows are brighter and red is darker. So that is the way you look at the light. You match the light. The other way, the other thing to see just the color is this. I have a complete video on this, but let me just give you a preview. So if we create a solid color adjustment layer and select the color 808080, it is 50% gray, R, G, and B all at 128. Hit OK. And then what you do, you change the blend mode to luminosity. Everything is gone. You only see the color. All the brightness and the darkness is gone. You just see the color. And that's how you match the color. If you create a hue saturation adjustment layer, you want to match the color, or just with the curves, you only see the color. And now, as you can see, the color of the subject is matching very well with that of the background. Now, if you cannot see the difference as well, you can also create another curves adjustment layer just for seeing it nicely. And this allows you to see the color more properly. As you can see, the subject is a little more, on the red side than that of the background. We can easily control that. We can maybe create a hue saturation adjustment layer, clip it, and maybe decrease the saturation like that. If we move the hue, see what happens. Wow. And it just mixes it. Now you can turn this off and have a look at it. Have a look what the hue saturation did. Here's the before, here's the after. It's matching even more. Now what I would do, I would decrease the opacity of that thing. Maybe I'll keep it at 45 or maybe 50. And that's one of the things that you can use called check layers to kind of make sure that your light and the color and everything is right when you're making a composite. There's a complete video on that. You can check that out as well. All right. Let's look at some other questions. So we don't have any more questions as of now. I have more 8 minutes live. So if you have any questions, meanwhile, just let me know. I'm going to move to my face. All right. Thank you everybody for joining in today. Okay. So we don't have any more questions, and let me just go through some other tips and tricks till we time up with this thing. Okay. So let me open some tips and tricks. Meanwhile, if you have any questions, just let me know. All right. Now, one of the ways you can actually make the colors a little richer is by using saturation masks. If you have watched the tutorial, fine. If you haven't, let me show you what I mean by that. So let me open an example image. So let me find this out properly. Okay, there we go. This is interesting. So I'm sure you can see this. I'm just going to move to my screen. Can you see this? All right, I hope you can. All right, have a look at this thing. Let me just adjust it properly. Now, if you want to boost the saturation, let me just check if the screen is right. All right, if you want to boost the saturation, make the colors richer, you can do this. This is very simple. I've already done this on this example. Let me redo that for you. If you simply create a hue saturation adjustment layer, and if you just increase the saturation, it's gonna go bad because it amplifies the color of every pixel, even if that pixel doesn't have much color. What we wanna do, we wanna increase the color of the pixels which already have some color. And the way we do that is pretty simple. Is this, actually, let me show that to you. We create a saturation mask. First of all, with the background layer selected, press Ctrl or Command J to make a copy. Now let's go to Filter, Other, and then HSB, HSL. The parameters are going to show up something like this. RGB, HSB, HSL. So you can go with either HSB or HSL. So I'm going to try first HSB. Both provide similar results, but some might work better. For this image, HSB might work better. For some other image, HSL might work better. But they both create very similar results. So select that and hit OK. That's going to create a strange looking image. It's not actually a strange looking image. It's actually the channels being combined, which is creating it, making it a little confusing. So if you move to channels, you'll see three things. Red, green, blue. But they are not the usual red, green, and blue channels now. The first one represents H, or the hue. The second one represents saturation. And the third one just looks like a black and white because it represents brightness or lightness. We are just concerned with saturation, which is the second one. The brighter the area, the more saturated the area is. The darker the area, the less saturated the area is. So the whiter it gets, the more saturated an area. The darker it gets, the less saturated that area. So we can easily create a mask using this. So what we can do here is we can hold the Control or Command, click on the thumbnail. Now we have a selection of this, right? Now we can easily turn this off. You don't need it, or simply delete it if you want to. With the background layer selected, you can easily create a hue saturation adjustment layer. It will come with that mask, which was created with that active selection. Now when you go ahead and increase the saturation, it will all look fine, wonderful, and rich. Have a look at it. Here's the before, here's the after. If you simply want to make the colors rich, this is a great tip. Now, let me show you one more thing. If I turn off the mask, if I hold the Shift key and if I click on the mask, turn it off, it goes extremely bad. It just doesn't look right. But with the mask, it looks absolutely beautiful with all those colors. Now you don't have to go 100. You can go somewhere around maybe 65 or 67, something like that. But you get the idea. And if you head over to PiXimperfect YouTube channel, I also have an action for this one. So you can check that out. You can download that action. It does it in an instant with just one click. All right. Okay, so we have 4 more minutes. If you have any questions, meanwhile, let me know, or I'll just move on with some tips and tricks today. Okay, let's move on to the next tip. And this is a tip that I do all the time. I just apply all the time. Let me just see. Let me just open a great example for you. Okay, so this is auto adjust. I want to make sure that I have an action for it. Let me see. Yes, I do have an action for it. Let me see if I have it properly. PiXimperfect auto action. All right. Now, the one thing that I want to show you is that there's a lot of auto features in Photoshop actually. Let me move to my screen. There's a lot of auto features in Photoshop actually that we do not use, and it just takes one click. Here's the thing, here's the great part. It just takes one click. Maybe auto contrast, maybe auto color. There's a ton of things. There's a lot of auto features. And what I've done, I've made a list of all of those auto features and created an action for them. Now, you can use these actions to apply some auto features of Photoshop all at one folder. Now, sometimes the auto features don't work, but sometimes it does. But it only takes just one click. If it does not work, you can always just go Control or Command Z. That's it. So, I have created some actions in here, so I'm just going to move to my screen. So this is PiXimperfect Auto Actions. There you go. It has all the automatic actions that I've created. Now, what does that do? It has just applies everything auto. Now, if I make a copy of the background layer, and there's this thing called image, auto tone, auto contrast, auto color. If you just play with them, auto tone, let's play with auto contrast, let's apply auto color. It's not bad. It is indeed good. If you don't like it so much, maybe you can decrease the opacity. And I've created an action for the same. This is called auto everything. You can just play it and boom, it's done. And by the way, this action is on YouTube. You can just search auto features in Photoshop on my channel and you'll find that video, and in that video in the description you will find that action. Glenn asks what's the name of that action. It's called PiXimperfect Auto Actions, and you'll find that in a video. So if you go to my channel, let me just do something for you. Let me just send you the link of that action directly in this live stream. So let me do that fairly quickly. Let me share this action with you right now. Auto PiXimperfect. I'm searching it. All right. So here is the downloads automatic action collection. I have it right here with me. So I'm going to share it on my chat right there. So this is the action. If you did not catch that, let me just share that again in here. So this is the action, PiXimperfect Auto Actions. Let me just make it white. There you go. This is the action that you need to download. bit.ly and then Pix action auto. All right, so this is the action. Just pause the video and just go to this link and download it. It's also in the chat thing. The HSL action Glenn asks, that's also in a video. If you watch a video on saturation, how to enhance colors, Photoshop action on my channel, you'll find it in the description. Now, as for the auto actions, once you download it, this is a list of all of the auto features. So now what you can actually do, if you apply curves, now even inside of curves, there are a lot of auto features. Have a look at it. Now, you might think this is only the auto button right here, but that's not true. Have a look at this thing. If you go to auto options inside of this one, there are tons of options in here. Enhance monochromatic contrast, enhance per channel contrast, and for the first 3 of them, we also have this button called snap neutral midtones. It makes it neutral and makes the colors right. So there are actions for all of them. You can try each and any one of them. So I like usually enhance per channel contrast with neutral. So I'm just going to delete this. Just play this action and your image instantly looks great. So, just download this action and get started with it. Now let me show you one more example. All right, this is one of the great ones actually. Let me just bring up my screen and let me see if I have any questions. Okay, so this is one of my favorite ones. Just clicking the auto button inside of Camera Raw does a lot for you. So if I go to my actions and in here I have this auto Camera Raw. Just play it and it's going to ask you to hit the auto button inside of Camera Raw, continue. And all you have to do is this. Just once the Camera Raw just opens up, you need to just hit the auto button. It does some automatic processing. It does take a little while, but it creates great results, especially for landscapes and stuff. Look at this. This is amazing, isn't it? Now you can also go just modify it a little bit, maybe increase the clarity a bit, and then maybe dehaze a little bit, maybe the contrast a bit, maybe just bump up the shadows even more. I love the way this looks at the moment. And once you're happy with this, just hit OK. It creates a nice result. Now I think it's kind of too much, so I'm going to decrease the opacity. I'm going to keep it at that. And that is it. That is it, guys. That was that simple. So if you like, just try the auto features. If it doesn't work, you can always go back. So that was pretty much it for today. We didn't have much questions, but that's okay. Next time, I expect more questions, and I hope that you come prepared with some questions of your own so that we have something to answer to. Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you so much for all your support and, spending time with me. I really appreciate it. I'll see you guys on my next Patreon exclusive live stream. Till then, stay tuned and make sure that you keep creating.